Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid throughout the state. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us, because together we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
Early childhood education will operate with a $9 million loss, possibly starting July 1st. What does that mean for Louisiana's children?
A look at how Louisiana's real estate market will respond to homeowners insurance reform.
And Women's Hospital is looking to combat high maternal mortality rates with a doula program.
This week, the nation celebrated the 80th anniversary of D-Day with a contingent of World War II veterans from Louisiana making the journey to Normandy to celebrate. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get started.
Hi everyone, I'm Kara St. Cyr.
And I'm Karen LeBlanc. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of Louisiana, the state we're in. But first, hurricane season is underway, and you've probably already seen meteorologists mentioning things are heating up in the Gulf. Now this week, FEMA officials held a press conference urging people to prepare.
They want to remind people that with our changing climate, storms can develop and threaten land without a lot of warning.
Rapid intensification is a huge risk, and rapidly developing and intensifying storms are a particular risk for the Gulf Coast and for Florida in particular. The strongest hurricanes that have ever hit the United States, the high-end Category 4s and Category 5s, were all tropical storms or less 3 days before landfall. So in that region in particular, you don't necessarily have a week or more to watch a hurricane come all the way across the Atlantic. The biggest threat are from storms that form in the Caribbean or Gulf or the Southwest Atlantic and then make landfall, rapidly intensify and then make landfall within 3 or 4 days. So everybody needs to have that sort of short fuse, hurricane emergency plan.
FEMA's opened new hubs to stage equipment and emergency response team and trainings seminars with thousands of emergency managers.
They do urge everyone to have a hurricane prep kit and emergency plan for their families as well.
Now, some parents may soon be scrambling to find childcare because of the legislature's recently approved budget. Under the proposal, state funding for early childhood education was slashed by millions of dollars. Advocacy groups warn that this will indirectly affect the state's economy. Take a look. After an eventful couple months at the legislature, lawmakers closed out session with a slimmer draft of the state budget. The finalized plan includes significantly increased funding for the criminal justice system and allocates a large portion of money to repair the state's infrastructure. But to balance that out, lawmakers made significant cuts to early childhood education, an action advocates say will adversely affect children.
We're going to have children enter into third grade and into fourth grade that aren't reading on grade level. And then those types of things that happen tend to cascade.
Dr. Libby Saulnier is the executive director of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. She says the newest budget will result in many kids losing access to preschool programs. The newest proposal cuts early childhood education funding by $9 million.
So the cut in the state's budget by $9 million for child care assistance means that approximately 800 children will lose access to quality early care and education. So we were able to save 1,200 of the 2,000 seats that could have potentially be lost.
Is there a way to pinpoint exactly which students are more likely or less likely to be able to go into the schools?
If you're 3 years old and you're going into a LA 4-year-old program, we won't refill 3-year-old spots. So that the Department of Education more than likely will have to roll off these seats through attrition.
The House Appropriations Committee originally sliced funding by $24 million, but after several hearings, both the House and Senate compromised on a partial restoration of $15 million. As the budget proposal currently stands, childhood education will be funded by a total of $78 million. But Dr. Saulnier's research says Louisiana needs way more than that to adequately serve the state's at-risk kids. Without the right funding, Louisiana's economy could suffer. Can you explain that?
So we did a study at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children to really look at the economic impacts of quality early care and education on our state. And what we found is that for when families don't have access to quality early care and education, they can't be fully participants into our economy, which that equates to about a $762 million loss to our Louisiana companies.
Overall, Dr. Sonia concludes that this could cost our economy $1.3 billion in the long run. I mean, how long would it be before we begin to see those effects?
We'll start to see those effects when we lose the number of children that don't have access to quality early care and education.
Proponents of the cuts questioned whether children under the age of 3 benefit from early childhood programs. Some likened it to glorified babysitting.
So what we do know is that under the age of 3, 80% of brain development happens during that time. And so meaningful quality interactions that happen in quality early learning centers have lifelong effects. I've had the great fortune of working on one of the longest longitudinal studies, quite frankly, in the world, related to access to quality early care and education in the first 5 years.
The current budget seemingly aligns with the governor's agenda, but he does have a few weeks to veto portions of the document if he chooses. To balance the budget, lawmakers pulled $717 million from money that would typically go into a state savings account to cover future shortages. Louisiana is expected to face a $500 million shortfall in next year's budget.
From hashtags to headlines, here's what's hot on social media this week. Okay, no pun intended, but literally the month of May was the hottest on record in parts of Louisiana. I mean, really, seriously. So in New Orleans, temperatures averaged 80.6 degrees last month. The previous record was 80.1 degrees, and that was in the year 2000.
Wow. Okay, so 24 years ago, so we beat that record. And in Baton Rouge, the average was 80.7 degrees, up from 79.4, which was the record back in 1933.
Yeah, so it looks like Mother Nature will be making headlines again this summer. If you remember, last summer we were busy covering wildfires and record heat.
Incredibly hot, but yes, whenever you walk outside, you're not making it up.
Well, this weekend it is the Country Music Association Festival, and some of Louisiana's country music greats are headed to Nashville. The State Tourism Office will have a presence there. They're doing a kind of interesting exhibit, right?
An interesting exhibit?
Yeah, okay, they call it a musical petting zoo.
A musical petting zoo? Yes. Wait, what does that entail? So they're bringing over a bunch of different animals for you to listen to music and pet them, like sheep and stuff like that?
It's instead of animals, it's musical instruments like the accordion, fiddles, rub boards. It's kind of a cute idea. A rub board, like a washboard.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I've seen those instruments, but I had no idea what it was called.
All right, well, if you are a fan of the show American Ninja Warrior, you need to be watching because we have a Prairieville man who's going back for more. His name is Wes Metter, and he's been on the show a few times, right?
Well, it's difficult. So it's kind of like Wipeout, where you're doing all these different obstacle courses. So I feel like that would take a lot of practice. So I understand going back, but good luck.
Yeah, I think his thing is like spinning. He spins on a log, and I think that's what actually knocked him out of the last competition. So good luck.
Yeah,
we are rooting for you. We are your fans. All right. Well, moving on to some good news.
Yes, I do have some good news this week. So Louisiana's maternal mortality rate is among the worst in the nation, but Women's Hospital is hoping to change that, which is a good thing. Patients of the hospital are participating in a national study that places doulas with pregnant mothers. I sat down with 2 moms and 2 doulas participating in the program. Here's what they had to say. When Brianna Remo found out she was pregnant for the second time, she was confident that this pregnancy would be just as easy as the last.
This one was long. I couldn't wait. It was long. I was like counting the days, and then I got an induction. So even knowing the day I was going to give birth, it still felt long.
But as early as the first trimester, she was proven wrong.
Because I was throwing up a lot, and I thought it was something that was going to go away, but it didn't go away. I threw up every day from the time I found out until I gave birth. Even after I had a Kai, I was still throwing up.
Remo was diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum, a condition that causes excessive nausea and near constant vomiting. Remo says she lost 30 pounds during her pregnancy and needed IV fluids to stay hydrated. But even this wasn't the worst part of her pregnancy. Doctors would find clusters of tumors in her baby's head and heart during the final weeks of her 3rd trimester. what was going through your mind whenever you found out that he was, has all these tumors?
It was sad because you went through a perfectly normal pregnancy the first time, and then you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna go through another normal pregnancy, and then on top of throwing up, you find out that your child has a disorder.
This news, compounding an already complicated pregnancy, was an impossible mountain to climb. Luckily, she didn't have to do it alone. Remo was selected as part of the Well Mamas Initiative, a study conducted partly at Women's Hospital that placed pregnant mothers with doulas. Charles Burks and Ashika Tobias are two of the community doulas on the project. When people hear the word doula, they probably also conflate it with the word midwife, but there's definitely a difference. Yes. What is the difference?
So a midwife is a medical professional. They can assist the birth and take the lead role. They're going to do everything to make sure that mom and baby stays safe. They also are responsible for the prenatal care, catching baby, labs. So if you're in a home birth setting or a birth center setting, you may see a midwife over an OB or, obstetrician. As a doula, we support the moms wherever they go.
The goal was to minimize poor outcomes for pregnant mothers of color, like Remo.
What was your first meeting like with Brianna?
I remember I met her and I went back into the office and I told Charlie, I'm like something's off, I don't know what we need to find. And we started to, figure out, depending on the gestation and the time, also determine the diagnosis. So what we started to do is relay that information to Brianna.
So that she could get the care that she needed.
The doulas in this project are given 5 objectives to check for: mental health, social support, heart health, safety, and drug abuse. But Remo says the support felt like so much more than that. It was like having a second set of eyes and a friend.
We just felt like we was already getting over one milestone, and we only had about 10 weeks left, so we was almost at the finish line. And whenever I initially was finding out about everything, Ashika was there. She even took off and came to one of my cardiologist appointments that I had at another hospital.
The emotional support is one part of the equation. The knowledge these doulas afford is the other. This is Brianna Burke. She's another mother selected for the study. She says Charles Burks helped her understand treatment plans during her pregnancy.
I'm the type of person that doesn't ask doctors questions at all. So do you have any questions? No. So I would never ask them. And if I did, I would text her, hey, what is this? Mm-hmm. Or she would even go over it and I wouldn't have to ask about it.
When they're around us, just kind of relax after some time, because at the end of the day, we have to build that rapport as well. But I will say, she bridged that gap.
Doulas aren't just a unique study pioneered by Women's Hospital. Years of data show that this practice provides better health outcomes for pregnancy. According to March of Dimes, a nonprofit organization focusing on improving childbirth, doulas are associated with fewer C-sections, shorter time in labor, and overall fewer negative childbirth experiences.
Yeah! What you got to say? What you want to talk about today?
The doulas assigned at Women's Hospital will continue to support both Remo and Burke for 1 full year after birth, helping with questions and monitoring their mental health.
There'll be other things that they may not reach out to us about, and we're well equipped to help them understand it. And they may not even know that we can. It's I thought you was just birthed. No, we all at. It's the whole experience.
The study will conclude in 2027, but by then, Ashika hopes that doulas are more accessible, especially in states with poor mental health outcomes, like Louisiana.
There's a program out in Opelousas. There's many programs in New Orleans. So I think the biggest thing is just not stopping at, I want a doula, but actually going out there to try to find a doula. There's many of us all throughout Louisiana.
Louisiana's housing market is in transition thanks to a variety of factors. Lawmakers recently passed several bills they hope will create a more competitive market for homeowners insurance. At the same time, real estate agents are adjusting to changes to the way commissions work, which will affect both home buying and home selling. In this week's Louisiana Speaks, Norman Morris, the CEO of Louisiana Realtors, provides insight on the state of Louisiana's real estate market as these changes take effect. joined by Norman Morris. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Louisiana Realtors. Thank you so much for joining us. So you're here to kind of bring viewers up to speed, not only on the state of the real estate market, but on how recent insurance reform laws may affect the real estate market for homeowners and home buyers and realtors as well. Let's start off with what is the organization all about, Louisiana Realtors?
Louisiana Realtors is a professional trade organization made up of about 16,000 realtor members statewide, representing buyers and sellers of all types of real property stemming from residential, commercial, land, leasing.
Well, property owners, homeowners, real estate agents have been closely following insurance reform coming out of the Louisiana legislature. With the reform laws that will take effect, do you see this positively impacting the real estate market in Louisiana?
I really do, and it won't be overnight. It will take some time, 2 to 3 years, before we see I believe, some positive impact. And when I say that, we've had some negative impacts based on insurance companies either not expanding their portfolio of coverages or companies pulling out of the state of Louisiana. It also creates a situation where home sellers sometimes, where they can't even sell their properties because the insurance rates are so high that a buyer can't even they can get all their stuff ready to go and buy a home, but when they find out that price ticket for the insurance, they can't afford it, and it prices them out of that deal. It stopped a lot of real estate deals in Louisiana over the last several years.
What specific insurance reforms do you believe will help the real estate market?
That's a great question, and several I'll go through briefly with your viewers here today. The Fortify roof system. Alabama's done a great job, and some other states around the country. It's a new way that you can put roofs on that will ultimately, after a storm, keep water from intruding that roof system. So we believe that what happened was this session is the legislature appropriated $15 million to be able to offer grants and financial help to those that qualify and want to put those Fortify roof systems on their home. We hope in the future there's more money granted towards this program.
Any other specific ones?
Absolutely. Back in 1992, Louisiana enacted a law, what's called the 3-year rule. And basically the 3-year rule stated that if you, as a homeowner, had coverage for 3 years or longer with an insurance company, they could not non-renew you or drop your coverage. Now, I know that sounds like, we're taking up for the insurance companies, but we're the only state in the union that had that law in effect. So fast forward to this legislative session, Act number 9 was just signed into law. And basically what that will say is that it gets away with the 3-year rule. It will allow companies now to go in and up to 5% of the policies in any parish be able to non-renew or drop those coverages.
In August, new rules take effect that will impact commissions earned by real estate agents. The Washington Post recently published an article headline basically warning that this is going to create real estate agent flight, that a lot of real estate agents are going to be put out of business as a result of these new commission rules.
This only affects 1 to 4 family residential properties. So it will not affect commercial or land, industrial, or leases, but any home buying aspect of a property, these new rules. So the new rules will affect 2 things. The compensation will not flow through the multiple listing service. It will be done directly between the agents representing the parties. There will have to be a written agreement in place between a realtor or a licensee representing a buyer that outlines all of the great services that the realtor provides and how that compensation based on providing those services will occur and how that will move forward. It will also require that there be no compensation placed into the multiple listing service. We still can have compensation provided by seller compensating the buyer's agent as well. It all has to be negotiated in what I call offline and not now through the MLS. So it's been going on, it's just had the MLS as a facilitator for this process, so now it will take that out of the picture.
Is Louisiana Realtors concerned that these new rules may push real estate agents out of the market?
We don't necessarily believe that, but some may choose to do that just based on the new guidelines and new rules. But The industry's always changed, and I think their expertise and their willingness to change and learn is going to only benefit the buyers and sellers that are looking to hire their great services to help them navigate through and achieve their goals of property ownership.
Well, we will wrap up our interview with an outlook on the current real estate market in Louisiana. What does it look like and where is it headed?
I think we're steady right now. It's not perfect where we'd like to see it because we'd like to see more opportunities for buyers and sellers on all fronts. Obviously, the interest rate now hovering around 7, a little over 7%. Obviously, that when we go back several years, if you can recall, 5 years ago, we were at a 2.5, 3.5, depending that range of rates. We believe the rates may drop anywhere from 6 to 6.5, which would even be better attractive for those buyers out there wanting to either get off the sidelines and purchase another place, or new individuals into the market that want to purchase as well. So we're watching the interest rates. Obviously, the insurance reform has been a big issue that we've talked about in this segment. Flood insurance is another issue that is causing some issues with the new FEMA risk rating 2.0 and the way they're rating their new flood insurance policy. So obviously it's created some negative impacts in Louisiana, depending on where you live and how they rate those policies. So we're certainly on top of that and hopefully can get FEMA to revise some of their ways that they look at rating, because when it's no different than property insurance. When you get a flood insurance bill that goes from $800 to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, you can't purchase that. You can't afford that product. And if you have a mortgage, in many cases, that mortgage lender is going to require that you carry flood insurance on the property.
All right. Well, Norman, thank you so much for coming to LPB Studios to share your insight on behalf of Louisiana Realtors.
Thank you so much, Karen.
80 years ago this week, on June 6, 1944, more than 150,000 Allied troops stormed the beaches at Normandy, France. The assault marked the turning point of World War II at the cost of thousands of lives. A group of veterans from Louisiana traveled to Normandy to participate in the Week of Remembrance ceremonies. New Orleans native Samuel Meyer served in the Army Air Corps and reflects on the support role he served in the 5 beach invasion as he prepares to head abroad for the events. So I'm opening the book, and is that you?
That is me. I was 20 years old.
Samuel Meyer was living in New Orleans, working in his family business, Meyer the Hatter, when he got the call to serve in World War II.
I was 18 when I got the postcard, and they said, come over here, and they sent me off to Alexandria, Louisiana.
Were you excited? Were you scared?
No, I was bewildered. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You're leaving your house where you lived all your life with your mother's father, and you don't know what's in store for you.
Samuel was drafted into the Army Air Corps. He served with the 370th Fighter Group as an armorer, loading bombs and ammunition on P-38 fighter planes during World War II.
These airplanes were manufactured by Lockheed, and they put 450 caliber machine guns and a cannon. And that's a murderous amount of firepower.
The 99-year-old World War II veteran was part of ground support who helped make the D-Day invasion possible. On June 6, 1944, more than 160,000 Allied troops stormed 5 beaches under heavy gunfire. It was the beginning of the liberation of Europe from the Nazis. More than 2,500 Americans were killed on that day in battle.
I was in southern England, and thousands of airplanes took off, and then thousands of motors in the sky at one time. All of South England was awake from 2 o'clock on. Come on, the noise was, you can't imagine all the noise with thousands of motors going at the same time.
What did you think was happening?
Well, we knew it was part of the invasion. I mean, we know what's going to happen.
I talked with Samuel the day before he was headed to Normandy for the 80th anniversary of D-Day at the invitation of the Best Defense Foundation and Delta Airlines. The 2 organizations are hosting veterans free of charge for several days of celebrations, remembrances, and commemorations. Samuel's son Paul is also headed to Normandy to watch his father participate in parades and special events.
I'm very proud of he was able to serve back then in the 1940s, of course. You know, he did pretty good coming out the war. So I think he did a real good service for us, serving this country.
The week-long celebration in Normandy began with a mass parachute jump from World War II-era planes and culminated with an international ceremony attended by the president. On August 6th, Samuel turns 100 years old. He's part of the dwindling greatest generation. The Veterans Administration estimates that the minimum age for World War II veterans is 95, and that of the 16.4 million World War II veterans, less than 1% are still living.
What do you want the younger generations to learn, understand, take away from the greatest generation?
Well, don't let anybody talk you into giving your country away.
After the war, Samuel returned to the family business, selling hats, including his own design. He still works at Meyer the Hatter as a third-generation family member, running the store along with his wife, sons, and grandsons.
You know what I think?
Tell me.
I think the greatest generation is very humble.
Well, I don't like to brag about anything I did. I didn't do a whole lot. And, I did what I was asked to do. Yeah.
Very good.
I was very lucky.
It's so heartwarming, isn't it, to see all those Louisiana veterans making the trek, especially at their age.
Yes, exactly. So it was a wonderful and inspiring story.
Thank you. That's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our LPB app.
You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs you've come to enjoy over the years. And please, like us on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Karen LeBlanc.
And I'm Kara St. Cyr. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid throughout the state. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us, because together we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana.
And by Visit Baton Rouge and the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.